The hardest part of being an artist is being willing to let people see where your heart is.
Adam Roa is a spoken word artist, and after seeing one of his viral videos on YouTube, I decided that I really wanted to make meeting up with him and then, of course, interviewing him a priority. So, welcome guys to the next episode of just me hanging out and chatting with this amazing artist.
Hi guys, I'm back and I'm with one of my new friends, Adam Roa, and I found Adam through one of his spoken word videos on YouTube, and I became quickly obsessed and started stalking him on all other social media channels.
Dope.
And had to make
I didn't know that. This is him admitting this.
This is, yeah, you're getting the full exposure.
Yeah.
I played it really cool for the last half hour while we caught up, but now he gets the real story. I'm a stalker, and I'm also a huge fan. And I really enjoy his messaging and his art, and he has a YouTube series that is fantastic, so you have to check it out.
The Art of Choosing Love.
Yes, all of that will be down in the, what is it?
Show notes.
In the show notes? No,
Show notes, podcast notes, the description of
the
the
description,
video.
yes.
The video.
I'm still learning, so it will be down there somewhere, and you can click things.
The cool thing is you could always edit this, right? So
Yes.
we'll do it over. All of it's available in the description of the video. Like, check it out.
Yes, that's great. That's great. I probably will leave the other stuff because I think it's funny too. But anyway, I really love his messaging and what he's about, and I wanted to share some of your light with everybody that I could because I think your story is fantastic. So for those who don't know you and who haven't seen anything about you yet, tell me about yourself, Adam.
Wow. Tell me about,
about
myself.
Here, let's cut it down. Let's do this. Adam, describe your, oh, it's fine. They're constructing things.
Constructing things.
Adam, describe yourself in 3 words and a food.
I am love.
That's great. Deep.
Blueberries.
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 Okay.
Blueberries are that food that are so good for you.
Yes.
And you can really put in just about anything.
Yes.
You can put them in smoothies and cereal,
Yes.
on top of cakes and things. Like, blueberries are so versatile as
Yes.
a berry, I find.
Okay.
Like, if someone said, hey, you want some blueberries? Usually you'll take one.
Right? You
know what I mean?
really says no.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
Blueberries.
never like not in a mood for a blueberry.
Well liked,
Yeah.
versatile. That describes me right there.
Okay, good. I love it. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Tell me, how did you get started in spoken word?
I was at a speaking event, and there were a number of different speakers lined up, and they started going up and talking, and the last person to go up was a spoken word poet, and I had never heard performance poetry before.
Yeah.
And the moment he started, a lightning bolt went off, and I said, I can do that. 100% I can do that.
Yes.
And within 3 days, I'd written my first 2 performance pieces of poetry. The second one that I ever wrote was You Are Who You've Been Looking For, which is the one that just went viral.
That was the second one.
Second one I ever wrote.
Okay.
And it went viral, 130 million whatever views, and it's such a testament to, you don't have to be doing something for a really long time.
Yeah.
There's no like path for what success looks like or what
Yeah.
it needs to be. If you have a calling on your heart and you know that you can do something, just go do it. You can't predict where that will lead.
Oh, I love that. Will you share with me your favorite line or lines from that poem?
Yeah, just honestly, the very first lines of the poem, which are, you are who you've been looking for, so stop looking for more unless you're looking in a mirror.
That's amazing. I love it. Let that sink in. Pause the video. Let it sink in for a second. That's so good. That's so good. Where does your poetry come from? Where do you feel like, what inspires you to write?
Thank you, Nico. My
Just
goodness.
closed a window up there.
Close the window. That was where all the sound was coming in from.
Yeah, what inspires you to write?
It's a really great question. What inspires me in general, because I feel as if writing is just one aspect of how I express.
Yeah.
And filmmaking is another, music is another. I believe that what inspires me is that where I came from, we were talking before this about how we're both Filipino, and my dad being from the Philippines, stoic Asian male, doesn't show any emotion. There's not like hugs and I love yous being tossed around my house growing up. And I shut down, you know, and I was sexually abused at the age of 5 by a man, and I shut down. And all of the shutting down that happened to get to the place where I'm at now, where I feel so heart open and so loving. I mean, I just said, I am love. There was a version of me that would have punched me in the face for saying that, you know? And to be at this place now gives me the belief that it's possible for anyone. Yeah, I don't actually think it matters where you're at, how much you've been through. Like, you can get to a place where love is your compass. Love is the primary thing that you feel each and every day. And if I think it's possible for anyone, then I also believe it's possible for everyone. And that the world can be full of people choosing love. And so I can't think of anything I'd rather do with my time than to help create that world. And so my writing comes from that place. My writing comes from the place that where I believe and I see a vision of a world in which love is the primary frequency we're all experiencing.
What does that look like to have your compass be love? Like, what does that look like in your life personally? What does that look like for someone else? Like, that sounds like, to me, if I was just walking in on this conversation, like, that sounds like a nice idea, but like, what does that actually look like?
Well, that's funny because that's actually why I started the YouTube show, right? The Art of Choosing Love has been about, it looks different for everyone. You know, there's an example that I use, which is from a friend who, her sister got pregnant, so she was going to be an aunt, and was very excited, and her sister decided that, you know, she was going to have her child vaccinated, and no one was allowed around the child unless they were vaccinated. And so this friend was not vaccinated, did not believe in vaccines, was one of those people who just didn't want to do it, and was questioning, what is the loving choice? In that instance, what is the loving choice? Do I get vaccinated, which is not really something I want to do, in order to be a part of my niece's life? Or do I not get vaccinated and not be a part of that life and damage the relationship with my sister because I love myself enough to just honor what's true for me? What is the loving choice in that instance? And that's just one example. I could give countless of these instances where, you know, choosing love is not empirical. You can't say, this is what love looks like. No, when you tell someone, hey, this is the loving choice, this is the loving choice for you. It's always about your lens and your experience and what your desires are on the planet. But quitting that job or staying in that job, what's the loving choice? Breaking up, staying together, what's the loving choice? And it's different for everyone. And so instead of trying to tell people this is the loving thing to do, like I know it empirically, I just wanted to start showing people how I would evaluate my choices and how I would analyze myself and take my awareness and my lens into some of the most difficult experiences of my life, like the breakup after 9.5 years together, after talking about my sexual abuse publicly for the very first time, starting to date again after 10 years of being with one woman, that all of those things, and sharing that, because when we step outside our comfort zone, we are going to be consistently faced with decisions where we may not know what the loving choice is, and we're going to just do the best that we can. And I want people who watch the show to take away from it an awareness that they then apply to their own life. I don't want them to take away, this is what you're supposed to do, because I don't believe in that. So what it looks like in my life changes on a day-to-day basis. What it does, what is a consistent for me, is constantly asking, what is the loving choice and why in this moment, in this instance?
Okay. That's amazing. Take all that in. It's great stuff. I want to go back to your second poem that you wrote went viral, and you said that even when you started, you just saw someone do a spoken word and you're like, I can do that, that I can do. What would you say to people who feel like they have that in them? They have a story to tell, they have a poem to write, they have a voice that they want to use, but they're like, it seems too scary, it seems too far off. I'm not willing to kind of put myself out there. I'm not someone who my second poem isn't gonna go viral. Or maybe they've tried writing several poems and none of them have gone viral. What do you have to say to them?
Well, the poem, it went viral. It's the second one I wrote, but I wrote it years ago. You know, I wrote it many years ago, and then just started performing it. And one of the performances was video recorded, not even by me.
Yeah.
The viral didn't even happen on my platform. It was shared on another platform, and that went viral. And I just think that we get to ask why all the time. Like, why are we doing it? If you want to write, if someone's watching this, like, I want to write poetry or a book or whatever it is, why do you want to write it?
Yeah.
If you're writing it because you want to be famous and go viral, awesome. I can't help you in that way. I don't know how to make it happen.
Yeah.
But if you're writing it because you just want to put your emotions into form, if you just want to share your thoughts with the world, then do it. Why not? There's no risk to that, really, because you're not setting an expectation on what needs to happen in order for you to feel like it was a success. For me, I was writing poetry as a little kid. Recently, my parents moved into this house in Florida, and some of my old stuff and my school books and things, and I got to see some of the poetry that I used to write as a child. And so I've always been writing poetry. It's been an expression for me since I was 5 years old. And I stopped for a really long time. And the decision to write poetry again happened because I said, I can do that. And I wanted to do it. And I just started. I never thought that I would be touring the world performing it. I never thought I would turn it into music. I didn't think any of those things at the time that I started doing it. I started to do it because it lit me up. And I think that the more things that people can do that light them up and make them excited to be alive, the better. Because there's enough things on this planet that are very easy to look at and say, whoa, it sucks to be alive. And that's a choice.
How do we find that? How does someone find that thing that excites them to be alive? What is that feeling like? How do you know when you found it?
I mean, just the feeling in your body. I think if you're struggling to find what that is, then where you're at is on a journey of exploration. For me, I can point to several things that I love to do. And things that I know I haven't even discovered yet. But several things that I love to do. So I try and fill my life with as much of them as possible, and then find ways to get paid for doing them. Right? And I do it that way as opposed to the other way around. So many people are, what can I get paid to do? And then how can I fit in things I love? Instead of saying, and you're an example of this, what can I do that I love to do? And then how can I get paid to do it? And if we can do that, great. And if you don't know what you love yet, then start exploring it. Start exploring it. We have the internet. You could just start watching YouTube videos and all kinds of random stuff and just say, whoa, that seems cool. Maybe I could try that. And then we have the internet. You could go to meetups. You could go to Facebook groups. There's no excuse in this day and age to not explore what lights you up. If you haven't found it yet, you haven't explored long enough.
That's good. That's some good stuff right there. So what for you, what makes something into a poem for you? If, like, everybody has different writing style, like some people, they only rhyme, some people are songwriters, like what to you defines poetry?
I believe, honestly, that the beauty of poetry is that there are no rules to it. And as a fellow poet yourself, your writing style, I described as being Rumi-esque. And mine, I find to usually have like rhythm and cadence to it.
Yes, there is a musicality.
There's a musicality to my poetry that is directly influenced by how much I used to love hip hop and rap, and also because the poetry itself is very clearly meant to be performed. My poetry is not intended just to be written down and read somewhere. My poetry is meant to be performed. And because I have the performer in me that's looking at the poetry as it's being written, there's a there's a steez to it. There's a grit to it, I feel.
Yeah.
And that's just my style. And then there's other poetry where I see it, and I follow these poets on Instagram where there's like, it's the way it's written. There's a couple lines, and then there's like a bunch of blank space, and then like a word down.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
It's meant to be like consumed visually.
It's a visual as well as it's like how it's written.
Yes.
Or you get a poetry book where like it's written like this, and then there's some words written like this way.
Yes.
Right? And you recognize that the poetry is also in how it's written.
Absolutely.
There's no rules, and I love that so much.
Absolutely. That's so cool. That's so cool. So where do you see your poetry going now? You did a spoken word tour, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So where do you
gotta come to this. You would love it as a poet, man.
Count me in. Here is where it happened first. We said it here, and now it's gonna happen later.
Yeah.
So where do you see it going for you?
Well, I have this show called Permission to Think Freely, which is a personal development, storytelling, poetic, like spiritual journey that I take people on. And I've toured that in Australia, Canada, the United States. We may be taking it to the Middle East this year.
Amazing.
And so that still gets to happen. I get to tour that. And then I have created an album called Permission, which we were talking about earlier, which is basically we took spoken word poetry and went into studio and created all original music to the poetry. Amazing. So it's not just, you know, a lot of poets will find kind of stock ambient sounds and just read their poetry over it. This was composed specifically for the poems.
Amazing.
And that is something that I tour in these little ceremonial listenings. And that will probably be doing one early February. So I'll make sure to send you an invite.
Please do.
Unless you're gone. I know you have itchy feet right
now.
I know.
But you know, who knows? Maybe that'll be where I get to escape.
And we've done that Toronto, New York, Bali, California, like all over the place. And I'm just, I guess the cool thing is, and Ryan, my creative director, has actually said this to me, which is I don't have any history in any of this. This is all new for me. I started doing the poetry a few years ago, having never seen performance poetry before, so I didn't have like a reference for it. Music. I created the album without ever considering myself a musician, so I didn't have any background in that. And so not having the background in these genres has me feeling like I'm breaking them. There's no rules. So I don't know where it's going, but I'm excited because I feel completely free to do kind of whatever I want with it.
Fantastic. What advice would you give to anyone who is aspiring to write or to get into that space of creativity?
Creativity requires space. To get into the space of creativity requires space. I think that in today's society, so much of it is going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. I think about, like a single mom who's waking up at 5 a.m., getting the kids ready, dropping them off at school, going to work, coming back, picking the kids up, cooking dinner, feeding the kids, putting the kids to bed, and by 8 p.m., so wired.
She's
exhausted. That I'd rather just shut off my brain, have the glass of wine, watch some mindless TV kind of thing, right? And I understand that. And in that full output throughout the entire day, there's so little space for creativity. Because creativity is a flow. It is the receiving and the giving. It is the input and the output. And I noticed myself even last year going so far into the output, creating The Art of Choosing Love and these poetry events and things like that, that I wasn't creating the space for the input.
That's good. That's solid advice right there.
I have a whole, if people are interested, I have a whole podcast that I did, which is, I think about creating the space for the input. I think is what it's called. My podcast is called The Deep Dive, for anyone who's interested.
We'll put it down below.
And recognizing how important that is. Right? And that's where things like dance, man, that comes in, is because in that space, you might be moving your body, but what you're doing is moving energy so that you create room for input.
Okay, so what are I love to get like tactical and practical too. So what are your practices to create that in your life? Whether it's creating the space for it, like what is it for you?
Meditation is the key for me. Meditation happens every day, and what meditation is creating the space for input. It's just saying, I'm just gonna sit, I'm gonna relax, I'm gonna just be for a while, and that is going to give my brain a rest on the output.
Yes.
And generally what happens is the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes are all the thoughts that want to be acknowledged that come up, right? They're all the things I need to do today, all the blah, 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 and those are coming up. And I just acknowledge them and I let them go. And then I start to hit that space where they've started to float away. And now I'm in the receiving. Yeah. And so I encourage everyone to meditate. That's so important.
Okay.
And then moving the body. Yeah, moving the body in some way, shape, or form, whether it's dance, stretching, the gym, swimming, anything, because that's actually moving that energy out.
Yes. Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that. Give me, I love asking this question. There's a couple just short questions left. Give me the best advice that you've ever received in your life.
Ooh. It's funny. What's popping into my head right now is, I have these tattoos. So I have these tattoos and they all have they're all words.
Yeah.
And this one right here is "We are the gift." And I was staring up at the moon. I was on the beach and it was a full moon ceremony, and I was looking up at the moon and I said, "I'm ready to receive my gifts. Like, I'm ready." And the moon said back to me, "You are the gift." And what that means to me is that what you have in you right now, at this very moment, is a gift to this planet. There's how are you utilizing it? Are you expressing it? Are you discovering it and honing those skills? That's a different story.
Yeah.
But in you right now is everything you need to create the life of your dreams and the impact on this planet that you know that you can. And when we stop looking outside of ourselves for the money that's gonna let us do that, or the relationship that's gonna allow me to whatever, when we let go of that and recognize we have everything in us, that is so empowering and becomes a fuel source, an infinite fuel source that I think we can all tap into. And so that piece of advice really completely shifted things for me, because here I was thinking, what is my gift? Maybe I'm an energy worker. Maybe I'm slightly psychic, or like, what is that thing? Can I have it, please? So then I can go. Give me my thing, so then I could go be a superhero.
Yes.
And then being told it's there. It's all there. Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, now this next one is similar, but this one's more like internal, I think. If you could teach every person you came in contact with one lesson, like one thing you're able to impart with them just through like touch or osmosis, like what would be the one thing that you teach to someone, or to the world, really, just every person you met?
I want to remind people that they are seen, heard, and loved. That is why I'm here, because I believe that when people feel those things, they don't go out and commit acts of violence. I don't believe that they go out and abuse their spouse, or murder or rape or rob. Or when people feel seen, heard, and loved, they act differently. And so much of the world's ills right now that we're looking at are being committed because people don't feel those things. And if the one thing that I could do is, in all my interactions, people leave that feeling seen, heard, and loved, and take that and spread that as a ripple, I feel that I will have done the absolute best I can.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for talking with me today and talking with all of us on the interweb.
Yeah,
seriously,
man.
I appreciate your light and everything that you're doing.
I appreciate you and stepping into this and creating this show, and and all the stuff that you're putting out on your Instagram, especially. I know that's where we connected. And from one poet and like content creator to another. Yeah, just respect. I appreciate the messages you're putting out too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I would love to have you perform a poem. Would you be Would you be able to do that?
Oh, all right.
I know.
I thought we were freestyle.
I'm totally putting you on the spot. This is all about you. This is all about you.
All right,
I'm totally putting you on the spot right now. But I would love for you to do that if you're open to it. If not, I'll just cut all this stuff out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a second, think about it, and what I want to do is I want to film it like handheld a little closer and just have it feel more intimate. So
got it.
Take a second, think
What
about what you want
what
to
should
do.
the poem be about? What do we do?
Totally up to you.
Are we rolling?
Yes.
It's happening? Great. So we're gonna there's no name to this other than this is just freestyle poetry moment. The hardest part of being an artist is being willing to let people see where your heart is. Knowing that for most of my life I have tried the hardest not to let people see where my life spark is, fearing that they would let in the darkness, wondering what my part is in this cacophony of sound and sight, wondering if my light is enough to overcome the fright that was instilled in me on that night when that innocence was taken by that man who might return to me in the nightmares that I see in those blind stares from strangers out there somewhere, assigning values that they don't care, when it's me who's unaware that they're me. Who I see them to be is a reflection of who I see in me. Who I can be is limited by the imagination in my own head. The dread that I feel is a limitation to what is real, because what is real is love. What is real is compassion and kindness. Everything else is this mindless fascination with pain. The fact that my brain can remain in a state of this insane fear is a clear indication that it's time for this entire nation. It's time for the universities. It's time for the education system to start educating in a way that people can listen and be expanded into a version of themselves that is grand. It is a disbanding of the old way of being. A new way of seeing the human beings on this planet. And that we can understand it is ancient wisdom lived out in modern time. It is ancient wisdom being spit out in modern rhyme. And it is my hope that line by line you see it as a sign that you are divine. That through the rain you can see the sunshine, and it's only a matter of time before you are reminded and you are blinded to the part of you that used to think that you couldn't and now knows that you can. The part of you that recognizes you are not a woman or a man, you are a human. You are one of us. Together we learn to trust again, to begin again, and see that we can be that. We can be the version of humanity that we would design if we could see a version of time in which we were living in peace. Letting go of these times where we feel like we're living in pieces. So I'll leave it at that and hope you'll come back, following the journey of learning how to love again, learning how to be a friend to yourself, look in the mirror and believe in yourself, That's the thing I hope to achieve with this wealth of knowledge I have acquired over time of diving in to the signs and giving them to you in rhymes. Thank you.